As we're approaching Shavuos, I think it's important to discuss the role of Talmud Torah, Torah study in the family, in the society. You know, after the Holocaust, there was a rebuilding of Jewish society altogether. The largest concentration of Jews, which was Eastern Europe, was totally destroyed. Refugees came to primarily North America. Those who had come before the war, by and large, assimilated. And the very first issue was keeping Shabbos, which unless you were self-employed, and for a refugee that wasn't quite common, unless you were self-employed, it was just not doable. Shouldn't say that it was very difficult. Most were not ready to make the sacrifice. And although they continued to keep tradition other than Shmir Shabbos, by and large, their children kept nothing. But after the war, certainly in the large cities, Jewish communities were built. And they were a lot more successful. So of course, one element was that there were so many Jews that came together. You know, after the war. So many survivors came. As opposed to the smaller numbers before. But really, that's not what the primary difference was. The difference was the setting up of yeshivas. First of all, Jewish education altogether. But what built the Jewish communities in America and kept them observant was the fact that the world of the yeshivas was rebuilt there. And the truth of the matter is that although different in the respect that everybody here was Jewish when it came to Israel, what really created the observant communities in Israel was the building of yeshivas. And when I say yeshivas, I mean the whole spectrum. You know, whether it's the Haredi yeshivas, whether it was Merkaz Harav and everything that came out of there. To this very day in America, when you're dealing with the smaller communities, if there's a local yeshiva, and certainly if there's a local kollel, the level of observance and the success rate with continuity, meaning that the children remain observant, it's so much greater. How come? Why isn't it enough that people are observant? Why do you have to have yeshivas? When I say yeshivas, I don't mean elementary and high school that just teaching Jewish observance. I mean yeshivas where you have people really learning full time for years. Why does that make the difference? What is it about this mitzvah of Talmud Torah? Where if it's just treated like another mitzvah, it doesn't seem to be enough. If it becomes the flagship mitzvah, if that becomes the centerpiece of the whole community, then the community is on a whole different level. What does that? Back in the days of the Gemara, we had two classes of people. We had the Chaverim, as they were called, who were the Talmidei Chachamim, and they were the Amei Ha'oretz. The term Amaretz basically means someone who's ignorant. You say an Amaretz, lo Amaretz Chasid. Amaretz means someone who doesn't know. The Amaretz were not the Talmidei Chachamim. They weren't feeble-minded. They were not in any way impaired. They weren't Talmidei Chachamim. The description of Amei Ha'oretz we find in different Gemaras. One, they weren't serious about the details of halacha. So when it came to the mitzvahs hatluyas ba'aretz, they separated truma gedola, but they didn't take meiser, or most of them did, but many of them didn't. Shemitah, many aspects of it they didn't observe. I mean, all Jews were Orthodox in those days. These were the Amei Ha'oretz. The Gemara uses some strong wording in describing what they're like. One of the things the Gemara says there is, don't marry your daughter off to an Am Ha'aretz. It's like throwing her to a lion. Now, these are Amei Haaretz. Again, these are fine Jews. They weren't Talmidei Chachamim. As a result of it, the way they related to Torah was with a different level of seriousness than the Talmidei Chachamim did. What's so terrible? So we've got to understand all the mitzvahs, everything the Jew does. There are two ways of relating to them. One is, yeah, I guess this is what a Jew does. Some will call it tradition, some will call it culture. Yes, it defines the society that you're part of. These are the things we do. What does one live for? To this one, it's money. To this one, it's comfort. To this one, it's fame. This one, it's aesthetics. But, yeah, I'm Jewish. This is what Jews do. So you have to find the way that your Jewish culture will fit into whatever your life goals are, whatever your priorities are. Ultimately, you run into situations where the two are not compatible. Which is going to win out? So it depends how strongly you're attached to your traditions. But with time, if it's not you, it's going to be your children. Religion's going to give. So that's where there are some halacha, Shemitah, for example. You know, Shemitah is difficult. For someone, someone whose profession, his business, whatever you call it, his whole livelihood is agriculture. A year that he can't till the soil and a year that he cannot sell his produce, it's open to the public. You know what a sacrifice that is? Of course that's going to go. For culture, for tradition, I'm going to risk my livelihood. So in America, it was Shabbos. And today, where Shabbos is less of an issue with regard to our actual work, but different aspects of one's life, such as communicating, texting, entertainment. So at least that aspect of Shabbos is going to have to be reconsidered, and so many have opted out. So many who call themselves Orthodox have opted out. It starts with kids and adults. A similar thing is with regard to tznius, all the different aspects of it, whether it's dress, whether it's behavior. You know, eventually it's a question of the things that I like and are important to me versus my tradition and my culture. So I guess I'm not so frum. That's one side of it. What is the other approach? The approach of what was the Chovir or the Talmud Chochem in the days of Chazal. People who understand what Torah is, which in reality is only possible with a certain amount of total immersion. Understanding this is reality. Understanding that Torah is not tradition, it's not culture. It is reality. It defines for us why we live, what are our goals in life. Yes, it's nice to be comfortable. If you can, you want to be comfortable. Yes, Hashem does want us to enjoy life. But is the goal entertainment? Is the goal to be comfortable? To be well off? That's a goal? That's what you live for? Torah teaches what a Jew lives for. Chesed is not just a culture. Chesed is a way of life. To live to share is a goal. Perfecting one's midos, that's a goal. The concept of shleimus, becoming more and more perfect, overcoming jealousy and laziness and impatience, working on one's integrity. These are things that we live for. This is why we're here. The Torah and its values being our purpose in life and not just culture. Not just I identify Orthodox and therefore I do this. But this is really my purpose in living. Immersion in Torah takes one even further than that. Becoming a more sensitive human being, learning how to think, how to reason, appreciating subtleties and nuances in reasoning, in language, in behavior. This is a whole different human being. Raising a family on these values is so much different than raising a family on the value of comfort and fun, but we happen to identify orthodox. You've got to understand that this has nothing to do with modern Orthodoxy versus Haredi. It has nothing to do with it. The leadership, the people that were respected, the people that are looked up to in modern Orthodoxy, believe in this no less than Haredi society. You know, the issues of where do you live and education. Do you get yourself a secular education? Do you try to advance? And although in Parnas, I don't think anyone disagrees, except for, yes, in the certain Haredi communities, the goal is to sit and learn forever if you really can. Modern Orthodoxy wouldn't go for that. Oh, I'm not totally sure. But that's not the issue we're discussing. That is not the issue. That guys have to wear jackets and hats and they got to be black and white or whatever. Yeah, those are differences. It has nothing to do with the core. The core is that Torah study, developing a real respect for Torah as the essence of what we live for. And for a man, the only way to get there is by total immersion in it and learning to think. The way I put it is the way God thinks. Which is what Talmud Torah is. Aligning your brain with Hashem's wisdom. This is what makes the difference. Are we dealing with orthodoxy as tradition and culture? Or is it reality? Is this what you live for? Or do you have other goals and this happens to define whom you are culturally? On a personal level, what it really boils down to is, do you understand that you have a responsibility to perfect yourself? Do you understand that you have a responsibility to be self-aware? Torah is about growth. You marry an Amoritz, he may be a lion. Maybe a dangerous animal, even though he's charming. Because never did he accept that he has a responsibility for his midos. In practical terms, he doesn't know that he's answerable to his Rebbe. If he does turn out to be an animal, you have no one to turn to. You can try to run if he'll let go of you. I'm not, Khalila, trying to predict all these terrible things. But marrying someone who's a real Ben Torah means someone who has a Rebbe that he respects and knows that he's answerable to. The reason being that he knows he has a goal in life, which is really to grow. And for that, he has to be open to the direction of others. What are the values you want to give over to your children? You want to give them over in a way that they last, that they're real. Is the number one value you want to give over to your kids getting a profession or building your wealth? Being comfortable? These are the values? And by the way, we're Orthodox? Not only is it a matter of marrying someone who went to yeshiva, but it's got to be someone who continually is involved in learning regardless of whatever else he does in life. He has a love for learning, a respect for learning. I've heard from women that listen, we know, talking about women who aren't especially into, they're not looking to marry some guy who's learned or is learning. They said, listen, I know the guys are immature. I know they're difficult. I just want to marry someone who's going to support me. So I don't have to worry about financial security. That's so sad. That's the sum total of a relationship. That's the person you want to be the father of your children. So you're going to tell me, what do you mean? There are some really nice people that aren't Talmidei Chachamim. So first, I'm not going to deny it. But you got to know, the world is deteriorating further and further. There used to be more of them. There aren't that many anymore. Between internet and the whole direction society is going in, without Torah, there are fewer healthy human beings walking around. Somebody emotionally healthy. Don't want to make a sweeping statement that anyone who's not in yeshiva is warped, is dangerous. I know that's not true. But percentage-wise, that's what's going on. Yeah.
How do we tell? I feel like this really applies to people who want to further the Jewish nation and have this this desire to raise Jewish children. But how do we instill this value in people who don't necessarily see that?
For people who don't see that, the issue is, why are there Jews, and why is there a need for Jews? And just making it clear to humanity that any decent value that exists in the world or ever did came from Judaism, and without it, this world is a really scary place. People have to understand that. The Torah is the source to anything sane in society. Every value, every law on the books. Every one of these great ideas. It's all in Torah, and without it, the world's a dangerous place. The world needs the Jewish nation to set it straight. And the Jews need Torah to set them straight. I mean, you've been here for how many months now? I hope what's gotten across is what the Jew lives for. And this is key. We're not talking about religion as a nice thing to add to your life. We're talking about what you live for. What are your priorities? It's comfort that's the spice of life. Yeah, Hashem made a beautiful world to enable us to be upbeat, happy, creative, so that we can then choose the right goals and live by them and grow. Don't confuse the means with the goals. When push comes to shove, you don't sacrifice your goals. This is really what Torah society brings to the Jewish nation. The Talmidei Chachamim versus the Amei Aretz of Chazal. Those who have that connection to Torah, and those that only are orthodox but don't have a connection to Torah. I'm sure you've seen the difference in your own communities. You can have two people. They're both in business and they're both successful. But they have totally different attitudes as to what they live for. And as a result of it, their standards of observance, what their homes look like, what their kids look like, it's totally different. One lives for his business and the other one lives for meaning. I do want to go a little bit further. And that's with regard to your own learning. The mitzvah of Talmud Torah technically is a mitzvah for men. This total immersion. Certainly, Gemara study as it is was meant for men. The Gemara was written by men for men. We've had discussions here and there of the difference between the way men and women operate and why the Gemara written by men is not for women. Men are basically, they love the theoretics. They thrive when they're detached from reality. You study Gemara, the cases in the Gemara, you don't even imagine them, you don't have to know what they're about. All you're looking for is the principle. Men have to be reminded that you have to apply the principles you learned. Men have to be reminded that it's not just an exercise, a brain exercise to go and study. Women thrive when you connect to reality. Start reading the cases in the Gemara and you find them offensive. The principles of Torah are to be understood equally by men and women. The issue is the medium. There is so much available today. You know, ideally, if you're fluent enough in your Hebrew, you can pick up an original. To study Chumash with Rashi and Ramban. It is so profound. I don't know where your skills are at. I don't know how much we managed to add to your skills here. Second best is translations, and there's so much out there. There is so much to learn. There is so much available where you don't have to sit there with the Gemara and you can find out what Judaism is all about. I keep saying this in this day and age where women get themselves doctorates and more. And women they can be the CEOs of major companies. It is so wrong that you should allow your understanding of Torah to be on an elementary school level. It's just so wrong that your understanding of Judaism and your understanding of sources being able to access them, that should be so unsophisticated when everything else in your life is so sophisticated. Chazal meant that women should be educated in everything but Torah. There is so much that's available to you. Never stop learning yourselves. I am sure there are values that you're going to want to give over and ideas that you're going to give over to your kids that they're not going to get, regardless of what institutions you send them to. You know good and well that you cannot rely on formal education alone to give over all the values to your children. Some of the most important concepts in Judaism I learned at home and from my mother that I did not get in years of yeshiva. You do have to appreciate that Torah is not just the book that it all came from, but a relationship with Torah study, a relationship with constantly learning more, understanding more, is what makes your Judaism real. This goes for you and Amir Hashem, your husband. You want to give this over to your kids. You don't want to waste your lives away. When I say your lives, your intelligence. Hashem gave you brains. The worst Bal Tashchis is wasting your intelligence. Biggest waste. What is it that you've got that's greater than your brain? To waste that on vanity. Is worse than anything you can do to the environment. Wasting the brain, destroying the brain. Torah study is not merely finding out the halachas. The study itself is an experience that makes you grow. It's developing attitudes. And also developing an emotional connection to what we believe in. You know, Shavuos is the Chag in the world of the yeshivas. In the world where people are less frum, it is the forgotten festival. Rabbi Yossi says in the Gemara, Ilav hayom kagorim, were it not for the day of Shavuos, Kama Yossi Ika B'Shuka, how many Joes would there be out in the street? He spoke of celebrating Shavuos as the day that turned him into who he is. If you grow in stature by way of Torah study, you understand why that is the happiest day of the year. If Judaism is culture, big deal. Tradition, big deal. If it's what transforms one into what they are, then yes, that's joyous. Wow, what a day. It's not just defining Shavuos, it's defining Torah. Torah has to be transformational. That's what total immersion in Torah does to a man. And whatever Torah study you can do, see what it does for you. Okay, that's my message. Oh, I'm over time. I want to give time for questions. Maybe one or two before they throw me out. Yeah.
Do you think you can live like a happy life out in the community or shul or school without putting yourself in a box of like, I'm this and that?
Sure. There are so many people that don't like to be put in a box. You're not alone. As long as you're not trying to make statements, I am different, I don't want to conform, you can get away with it. You know, if you don't make noise, people respect you. It's the ones that try to make a point, I'm different, that no one can stand. You're just innocent, you don't want to look like everyone. Good for you. No one will have any complaints. As long as you're a nice person, they'll be happy, they'll be very happy with you. Boxes are awful. They're developed for safety and simplicity. It's very easy to define oneself because they fit in a box, to define someone else because they're in this box or the other box. But they're so inaccurate. They so much squelch the personality, the creativity. Yeah.
Do you think like when they're like married with kids, it's like leaving Torah for like woman is still as important, or like is your Avodas Hashem different?
Obviously, she has less time available, but there should be no point in one's life where they don't have time to study. Yeah.
How does the Yeshiva recommend that you can implement these ideas into your kids at home without making them feel like squished, kind of, or like you're forcing it upon them?
You're not forcing it upon them. I think it's the joy of Torah. You know, so many times, every time we make a bracha on Torah, it's Asher Bochar Banu Mikol. Wow, Hashem chose us from all the nations and gave us Torah. What you have to really get across to your kids is how happy you are with it, and you got to be happy. If you're not happy and just put it on, they're not going to. They see through. The younger they are, the more they see through us. But it's the joy of Torah, the idea of look what we've become, a real pride. That's what you got to give your kids. It's not forcing anything on them. Forcing is not education. But for them to really, really see how happy you are, you know, and if you're a good parent, then they know that it's because of Torah that you act the way you do, then it's going to say a lot to them. Oppressive parents that talk about Torah are pushing their kids away. Okay,